You have been developing the Groq Cloud for years, and it has been massively successful. And as you said, in just the 18 weeks, you have 250,000 users this week.
We're actively ramping our capacity to satisfy this huge number of developers that we've gotten. We were never expecting it to pick up that fast. We're currently running about 160x to 180x real-time speed factor.
Ooh.
So to put it in perspective, that means you can take a 10-minute video and transcribe it in about 3 seconds.
Hello, we are at the AI Engineer World's Fair, and we are with Graham Steele, the Senior Product Marketing Manager at Groq. So excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's such a pleasure. I have been a fan of Groq for a little while, and I would love to talk about it, to talk to our users about what it is, how you guys are different, and how they can use your technology now. So I guess let's just get started with your basics. So tell me a little bit about you. And your work at Groq, how long have you been there? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm our Senior Product Marketing Manager at Groq. I've been here for a little over 3 years now, although it feels like it's been a decade with how fast the industry has been moving. But it's been an exciting time. We finally launched our Groq Cloud offering about 18 weeks ago, and we just surpassed 250,000 active developers on our platform. And so the rate of pickup and adoption has been incredible. And
unbelievable.
Yeah, showing the market's need for ultra latency real-time inference when it comes to LLM applications.
Yes. So what that means is basically Groq has these machines called LPUs, and it's an alternative to a GPU, right?
Yep.
And it's made for language model processing, correct? So LPU stands for?
The language processing unit.
Language processing unit. So is that correct that it is for language models particularly?
Yeah, we find we're particularly well suited for language models, which are transformer class models is a broader term.
Okay.
And,
okay.
But we can run a bunch of different models on our hardware, but our sweet spot is definitely large language models, language processing, Meta's open source Llama model.
So you can use it for anything, even though it's called a language processing unit, you can use it for other types of transformer models.
Yeah, transformer models or even other classes of models, but specifically focused on the inference side or the production side of the market. Whereas, trainings, when you give these models intelligence, you spend a bunch of money making these capable models. We focus on the production side. We're actually deploying that model into a production application to actually use it in the real world.
Right, so you're running inference. The model has already been trained, and now you're able to deploy it and ask it to do the thing that you trained it to do.
Exactly, yeah.
Very cool. And so can you talk a little bit about, I know Groq has an unusual take. They have a software first approach towards their hardware. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, so interestingly, when we first started Groq, we actually spent the first 6 months where our team was only focused on our compiler. Once we had a viable first-gen compiler, then we designed our hardware to map to the compiler.
Okay.
Versus the traditional approach, people build their hardware and they're like, oh yeah, we need to do software now, and then brute force the software to fit the hardware. Since we started with the software-first approach, our compiler controls all of the execution on our hardware. So we don't have relay mechanisms or caches, all these fancy things that control the logic on the chip.
Yeah.
That's all done by our software, which allows us to have completely predictable execution.
Wow.
And ultra low latency.
So you built it from the ground up.
Yep.
You handcrafted the compiler and the core code of the machine.
Yeah, well, our team did. I did not. Those are
Not
much,
you, yeah,
much smarter individuals than myself. I can't take credit for that. But
I can't even fathom that kind of engineering. That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, that allows us to have this going. It also allows us to get new models we've never seen before up and running really quickly. So whereas with the GPU graphics processor, you're gonna have to handwrite low-level kernels or instruction sets to have a model fit that architecture, we just throw it through our compiler and it takes care of all that work for us.
That's so cool. And okay, so you have been developing the Groq Cloud for years, and it has been massively successful. And as you said, in just the 18 weeks, you have 250,000 users this week.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Where do you see Groq Cloud, or Groq as a company, going forward in the next, I guess we could say year or 5 years? You don't have to go as far as 5 years, or then maybe there's a larger general plan.
Yeah, no, good question. hard. 5 years, I feel like would be hard to predict with how
Right.
fast the industry is moving.
Totally.
But I'd say at least in like the short term, we're actively ramping our capacity to satisfy this huge number of developers that we've gotten. We were never expecting it to pick up that fast. Maybe next year we'd have this amount is what we were forecasting, but not in the first 18 weeks. But really focused on ramping the capacity to satisfy that developer base. Also like launching new modalities. We actually recently added Whisper v3 Large, which is OpenAI's open source speech to text model.
Right.
So adding that capability and then looking at things like vision, multimodal models eventually.
Right. Moving past just the large language model.
Yeah, past this large language model, really into like Gen AI in general.
Right, okay. And so that is where you see yourself going in the near future. And as you say, having more units, so you guys develop your own hardware. So you have the software and then you develop the hardware. How's production going? Are you able to keep up with the needs?
Production's been going really well. I would say all of our forecasts were not expecting this amount of demand this fast. And so we can't build and stand up our hardware fast enough right now. But fortunately, we're all like US North American domestic supply chain. So we actually tape out our chip at Global Foundries in Malta, New York, and then it's packaged in Canada, and all of our assembly for our cards, nodes, and racks is done in California. So we're able to scale that quite effectively, but it's hard to keep up with the pace of developers.
My goodness. If someone wanted to use a Groq LPU today, what would that look like? Can they just sign in? You have a cloud, it sounds like. How does that work, from start to finish?
Yeah, so all they'd have to do is go to console.groq.com. You create your account. You can log in with your email, your Gmail, or even your GitHub account. And then it's free to use to get started. And the cool thing is we have all OpenAI compatible endpoints. So if you're used to programming with an OpenAI model or an OpenAI endpoint, all you have to do is grab your API key, call the model you want, and you're up and running.
So, wait, you have your API key for OpenAI. How does that work? Just because OpenAI, when you query them, you're using their servers and their GPUs, right? Or how does that work I assumed Groq was you are deploying your own model that you have fine-tuned or whatever. Do you have some kind of partnership with OpenAI?
Good question. So to clarify, OpenAI has created an industry standard for how API endpoints and calls work.
Okay.
And so since so many people are used to using OpenAI, it's much easier from an end user journey perspective to have that compatibility versus forcing someone to learn something new or change their underlying code in their application.
Yes. I just meant you said to upload your API key, and normally that's your password to get into OpenAI, kind of. So I was just confused.
I got you. Yeah, so we have our own API keys that you generate on our Groq Cloud platform when you log in.
Yeah.
And then you just switch that out in your model. So
you just swap out the API key. I thought you were pass in your OpenAI API key. I was like, why?
We don't want to. We don't want to know people's API keys or anything like that.
Yeah, that was confusing. Okay, that makes sense. You just swap out the API key and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That is really exciting. And so, what if you have your own model? And also, actually, before I get there, so do you check out is it serverless or is it a server model? So do you have the Groq Cloud with you, or do you kind of just send the query? How does the Groq Cloud work in that sense? Do you understand the difference between serverless and?
Yeah, so we have a public cloud offering, if you would, with it, and so you can access it anywhere you have an internet connection, but we don't offer bare metal instances, at least not right now. It's the public cloud side, and then we also have our enterprise tier we've been standing up for folks who need dedicated private instances, who have their own models or fine-tuned versions.
So they have their own cloud version that they're logged into.
Yeah.
Whereas it's serverless for the public, which means that they send what they want to you guys, then you allocate it to whatever machine you want, and then you send it back.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So you don't check out a machine and that's your machine.
No, yeah, okay. At least not right now.
Not physically, but you can, in some cases on the cloud, you can check out a machine and then develop in that machine. Whereas it seems you guys are more serverless, where you send it, get it back.
Exactly, yeah.
Very cool. And this is for production level deployments. So when you have a model that you want to work with. And is there a way for users to upload their models to Groq?
Not currently for our public cloud tier.
Okay.
That's something we're working on, but Right now, we've just gotten so overwhelmed with the amount of developers for like the base, models we've been standing up that we're trying to make sure we satisfy that whole user base before we dive into offering those services.
Totally, that totally makes sense. And so what would you say to someone who is interested in learning about AI and is new to the space, but wants to learn and is curious? What advice would you give to that person?
I would tell them to use a large language model to help them learn. There's been a bunch of really cool applications that are targeted for just like your learning path and tutorials. We've had some developers like Felipe Schubert who actually put out this application called Concilium that runs on Groq, where he creates custom knowledge trees that are all tailored towards your learning style, your goals, and like what you're trying to learn. And so it generates in real time like little snippet articles and lesson tutorials that are like step-by-step journeys.
Sorry, you said that's with Groq? Somehow he no, it's separate.
Groq is powering it. So
powering the decision tree creation.
Oh,
cool.
His application's running on top of our public cloud.
Interesting. So you guys are also working with decision trees.
This developer created that himself, but the cool thing about having like the API is like you unleash it to the masses and it's just like you see what they innovate and create.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, so like just do a hands-on project. This is what I hear over and over again in all the interviews is just find an application and work on it. And it has become so much easier, right, with these large language models being so accessible. They can code for you, basically. They can decode code for you, as in translate it into English, tell you what it's doing. It's amazing. And these models are already made, so it's pretty phenomenal. So it sounds like your developer community on Groq is growing so quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like a community. Can you talk about that sense and where you see that going?
Yeah, so the cool thing is like folks have just been really inspired and like really love being on the journey with us. And so we're very like open, transparent with them. We have our own Discord community where we'll give them pre-announcements and stuff like that, and have like our own like Groq power users to help answer questions.
Cool.
But it's just been awesome to see like the whole community rally behind it, and they're giving us tips and tricks. They're like, hey, we found this one issue in your code, like, and we're like, oh, awesome, we'll fix that right away. And so it's just the whole open source community and folks being behind that has been really cool.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. What do you have any kind of like planned next steps for, I don't know, the community at large as it's growing? Anything you can think of?
One of the things we've been doing a lot lately that I've been helping run is like our AMAs. So we find like cool topics that folks have been talking about in our Discord channels or on social, and then we'll do a focused AMA on that. So we'll do a topic. We just did one on our scaling architecture, where that was a key question folks were asking about on our Discord channel. So we had our engineers come on with me and we did a whole round of AMA questions submitted by the community.
I'm like stunned. That's amazing. You guys are really engaging with your community.
Yeah, it's that's like how you grow, but also like we're passionate about the same things they are, and so we like geeking out with them and just seeing what they're developing, and we also love standing up cool applications they build. So we find people who like post something on Twitter, they're like, hey, I built this powered by Groq, and then we'll do a YouTube series on it, or like put them on like our showcase applications and things like that to give them some love.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So, it's rare to find a company that cares so much about the community. It seems like you guys are just a beloved group that is growing so quickly. I'm sure that's part of why you guys are growing, is because there's so much like love around the company. How rare to have love in a cloud,
No, totally. Our whole brand promise from the beginning has been to like make it real. And so like when we're at conferences, we're always showing live demos, having people type things in on the keyboard themselves. It's not like a recorded video or anything like that. And I think that's also been part of the reason why we've blown up and had this viral moment, is like we made it real for folks, starting with GroqChat, and then we saw the demand for API. So we launched the API offering and then just gave it to the masses and said, go have fun, create something cool.
So tell me about GroqChat. So you started with GroqChat. What was that?
Yeah, so GroqChat is, the initial form was just a version of Llama running on our homepage, where before we even had an API offering or a whole cloud, it was just, hey, you can chat with the model and experience how fast we are running large language models. Cool. And the second we launched that, actually the same day we launched it, we started getting emails. People were like, how do I get API access?
Wow.
So like, okay, we need to stand this up, ASAP, and then one thing led to another. It was a manual effort from the start, and now we have our whole cloud offering.
So it was like your cloud version of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then you moved on to APIs, which for those watching who don't know what an API is, it's basically a way for you to query a company's code and kind of have them take your code, your query, work with it, and then send back what you want from them. So it's like you're not seeing actually how their code works or what the internal workings are, but it's how you can communicate with a process or a company library.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And so it's so cool. I love this. And so you're here at the AI Engineer World's Fair. What did you talk about today?
I've been giving demos, the entire conference, been showing off everything from like GroqChat is just like, hey, you can test it out and see how fast we are, all the way to cool applications our developer community has been building to, some stuff our interns have been working on, showing like the different experiences and showing how we're running Whisper right now as well, which we're currently running about 160x to 180x real-time speed factor.
Ooh.
So to put it in perspective, like that means you can take like a 10-minute video and transcribe it in about 3 seconds.
Oh my gosh, LPUs.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are really crushing it. It's amazing.
It's been fun. And the cool thing is just seeing all the engagement, folks constantly are coming up to us like, okay, here's what I've been building on Groq. Or like coming in the booth and showing us their applications, which was really cool to see that excitement.
Yeah, there's community. Yeah. Well, I would love to see a demo of this, as you were mentioning.
So I have a few demos I can show you.
Okay,
this first one's just like showing Groq running on that, or Meta Llama 3, actually I need to change this one to 70 billion running on LPU versus that of running on Meta with GPUs.
Okay.
So Harper, this first demo is just showing GroqChat, showing running large language models on our LPUs. Llama 3, 70 billion from Meta AI running on the LPU versus Meta's offering running on GPUs.
Okay.
Do you have a particular prompt or question you want to ask it?
How long should I boil my egg for the perfect consistency? I'm not even going to be more specific than this. I'm just going to see what it says.
So I'm just going to copy the same prompt, paste on this side. I'm going to start Meta first, give it the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
Start that.
Oh,
and we've already finished it. And they're just starting.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah, the speed is addictive. I like to tell people it's like, you remember when you had a hard disk drive in your computer?
Yeah.
And you were fine with that experience, and then you experienced a computer with a solid state disk drive or SSD for the first time.
You can't go back.
You can't go back.
You can't go back.
First time I experienced a laptop with an SSD, I had to buy a new laptop because I could not use my one with a hard disk drive anymore. I was just frustrated by it.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Yeah, and so this is just on our homepage, groq.com, for people to test out.
Yeah.
But I can show you another one.
Okay.
And actually, so this one is,
me.
yeah, so I pulled in one of your videos. This is using a combination of Whisper v3 large to transcribe a video, and then Llama 3 8 billion to ask questions about the content.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
So I preloaded a URL from your YouTube page just for timeless, and so we'll load it from URL. I'll paste in the URL from your video.
Great.
And then we'll say, so now it's transcribing the video using Whisper v3 large. That finished the transcription in 3 seconds, and then create a 10-bullet summary using Llama to analyze that transcript.
Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. This is fantastic. Also, I have such an issue with transcribing my videos. It's been
Yeah, the YouTube transcription built-in tool is like a pain. It's not that accurate.
It's horrible.
And so yeah, we actually just launched a version of this on our Groq Labs page for anybody to test out and use. And so if you go to like wow.groq.com and click on Groq Labs and Project Media QA, you can use it anytime you want.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. This is so cool. Thank you for showing me this. Is there any other?
Yeah, I have one more I can show you actually. Make sure. So this was this is an application called Groqbook. This was made by one of our community developers. And what it does is it creates entire novels on any topic you want.
Okay.
It uses Llama 3 70 billion to generate the structure, and then Llama 3 8 billion to fill in the content. So what do you want to write a book about?
Oh my goodness. I want to write a book about the fundamentals of neural networks, and including the history of transformers and how they work. So include, you know, various types of optimization functions, layers, activation functions, etc. Is that too long of a prompt?
No, not too long. What's the last part you said?
Okay, neural networks. NEU.
Yeah, it would help if I can spell.
Totally. I just have seen it way too many times, including the history of transformers and how they work. That's fine. Let's just start. Let's just end it there.
So we'll hit generate.
Okay.
So now it's chapter 1, showing the speed, and you see it's
this is insane.
Entire novel written in just a few split seconds. And the cool thing about this, so when I present this to folks, I tell them like, they ask like, what's the application for this? The best example I can tell you is, you know, we have a mental health crisis in our country and around the world. If you were to take this and use it to generate a tutorial book that you could give to educators in rural regions who are generally the mental health practitioners at the end of the day for, you know, younger generations, that will give them the tools to empower their students how to do mindfulness, how to treat mental health for something that they're not educated on. And the, you know, possibilities of things like that are endless, but there's a true need for that content, you know, instantly to give access to folks.
I mean, there's a true need. How many times have you wanted to learn about something, like really in depth, about something very specific? And you're like, I don't know, there's probably not a book about this very specific thing.
Yeah.
Now there is.
Exactly.
That's crazy. You could be so elaborate probably with your prompt. That's, wow. Honestly, I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, Ben Kilner, who created this, awesome guy. We found him on Twitter. He just posted, or X, I'm sorry, posted, you know, hey, I created this using Groq, and we reached out, and now he's been developing a bunch of cool stuff on top of us.
Like the applications with Groq are the cool, like it's just the coolest thing ever. So thank you for your work that you've been doing at Groq. I'm excited to share more about you guys with the people that
thank you guys. We love folks like yourself, you know, sharing the word with them and like getting out the community, but also like explaining stuff in layman's terms and making it easy for folks to understand and digest.
Oh, thank you, Graham. Well, thanks for being here, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your conference. And I'm really looking forward to working more with Groq and to seeing where you guys go, because it's seriously changing the world, what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much for having us and the opportunity. And yeah, it's been fun and more good things to come for sure. So we're excited.
Yeah.